Hello, this is Margarita Emanuele, and 2025 is turning out to be a spicy year, isn't it? But with everything that's going on, this is worldwide, and I want to bring up the point of building resilience in ourselves as individuals, and also our families and our businesses. And if you're just starting out with business this year or last year, and you're still in the working phases of creating an enterprise, or you've been in business for a long time, the first thing you should be thinking about is crisis management. And it's not sexy to a lot of people. It is to me, definitely, because I made my living figuring out ways to save people and property from disaster, from loss, from theft or destruction, and costing people a lot of money. What's going on in LA right now is pretty tragic, but and we could that could be a completely different video. It has a lot to do with preparation. It really does. If it happened to a small business and they just keep running on autopilot and not minding certain points to protect the processes that involve the transaction, even protect their employees. If you get hit by bad weather, if you have a high gas prices, as happened, a pandemic happened, we had all kinds of impediments affecting businesses and also individuals who lost their jobs maybe and then ended up shifting to an entrepreneurial mindset and then ended up thriving. Some of us decided to start businesses during the pandemic, and some of us actually did get to work during the pandemic as a consequence of working government contracting. I could not escape it. I still had an income, but I worked long hours, and I always wanted to start certain product as a business. It caught on really quick, even though I was like selling locally, and then eventually I was selling an e-commerce. I was selling online, and that was fun, but there was a lot of work. But then the initial stages of a business, my first order as an example was some essential oils that I had bought from an Indian company, and usually they get those bottled up, packed up, wrapped up really well because they're considered hazmat, um, and put into a box, and then put into get the shipping label and everything, and then it had to come from India to Europe, or Europe is going to probably stop someplace else, and then make it here to the United States with my stuff. This hit right about the time that we were actually had the shutdowns were implemented, and talking about 24-hour period that was really tough for both sides, for the people I was buying the stuff from and for me, because I spent a really large amount of money on essential products, things that are naturally made products, and they're very expensive because of the process of extracting essential oils from plants, from flowers, from seeds, or anything like that. That process is really expensive. And I had a nice batch of stuff where I had orders for perfumes that I wanted to create. So that's basically in a nutshell. And my order was stuck in a warehouse in India where they were mandated by their government not to leave home. So angry emails, people got blocked, they blocked me, I had to find ways to talk to them. I said cancel an order. You see, there's already a theme behind, did I prepare for this? And I did not, because I was in the early stages of that particular business. So pushing ahead through the next few weeks, I canceled it. But as soon as the curtain lifted, my stuff was shipped regardless of the fact that I had canceled. I called my bank and all that, told them, go ahead and cancel that transaction. I can buy the stuff later when they can actually fulfill the order. To them, the order was fulfilled. So it didn't matter whether I canceled at my end. That warehouse actually shipped it out. So there was nothing that could be done at their end or my end. So when it showed up at my doorstep, I was kind of upset, but I was really happy at the same time. high quality stuff. I was very pleased. They sent me a really nice, polite message to please pay them, which I did. And that's pretty much end of the story there. But does it really end? This cannot happen again. But I cannot control world events. I had to cancel a lot of stuff that I was just starting to do in my life, just probably like the rest of you did. And this is just a personal example, just starting on a new venture or actually being engaged in an old venture, ongoing for a long time and getting really comfortable. And comfort is the first thing that's going to kill a business. It's going to kill any kind of a goal we have in life, really. Just getting really comfy with the idea that we know what we're doing. We don't have to be concerned about changes in the environment. And this is how we grow complacent. So my complacency, I can only chuck it to one time due to ignorance that I should have considered having a management plan in place, an operating plan, business operating instructions, something really simple to help me mitigate these problems. So uh, getting any kind of supply, even from U.S. based suppliers, was challenging because people did not show up to warehouse to fulfill the orders. People are actually sick, some may have panicked, and this is just a human condition. So what do? You start to shut down your emails. Don't call. We're going to send you email updates as soon as we get something going, like the orders already came in at a certain date. We're going to start filling. And I got a lot of emails like these. I just had to take a deep breath and have patience that the only things that I could create at the time, I could only use with materials I had on hand. And I just had to shift. Whatever I put out at that time, those products came out really well. I sold them, but that initial phase was really nerve-wracking. So in order to avoid that, just getting caught off guard, like something happens halfway across the world and you're thinking, that doesn't apply to me. The borders have really been lifted now that we have mobility, we have aircraft, we have internet, and we can reach more people globally faster than we did before. So always think that just because things are running really well today, that something happens someplace else around the globe will not affect you in some way. But you really have to sit down and analyze that. So I wanted to share some points with you today. Just to get you going. This is not to say 2025 is not going to be a good year for business. I actually think that it will be. It already is. Because it's just a fresh breath of air. No, I'm just hopeful. But I'm also have some planning that's already been implemented to mitigate some of the problems I've been experiencing for the past couple of years. So just to give you a heads up on that. So I'm not saying that I'm predicting the future or anything. Otherwise, I will be in a different position. So this is about continuity. Continuity meaning that you're still moving, you're still doing the thing that you're doing, that you've been doing for a long time or just started. It doesn't. When it's interrupted, you can shift. You can shift into a different position and continue to operate. And crisis management can also mean safety and security. So we're talking about floods or anything like that. The Hurricane Helene's victims are still living out there in the cold. And not to reach political points, but these are just pretty well laid out facts. There are people that are still living in tents. I've lived in tents, but not under those circumstances. Military service. So when you look at it from their point of view, those businesses are gone. There's no continuity of operations, and this is what we're trying to avoid. So for the next big thing that hits, and we shall see, this is a new year, then you should put something in place in writing that I'm going to give you some pointers. And I also have a downloadable gift for you today, just a checklist for you to go over and just consider these topics on your own, so you can start working on building your own continuity and crisis management plan. So of small businesses, you see the numbers here, how my job dropped when I actually heard about these numbers. And you can prove anything with numbers if you study statistics, but I'm trying not to be cynical about these numbers, because I've seen it happen where business owners at the small scale they're doing well, and then all it takes is one bad transaction or a fake transaction, and someone didn't get paid, a vendor, for example. I hear that those are actual cases in real life where people don't get paid, and then the bad guys actually uh, hack your system and avail themselves to uh, all the content you have in the CRM when you're running your business and you're trying to figure out why is it that that vendor keeps calling me to pay them. Uh, when you run the numbers, it turns out they're paying the bad guys. The bad guys are getting your those bills and they're taking your money. And just to put it in plain English. So lacking planning is always going to be a factor. It's just not having some sort of a presence of mind to handle these things when they do happen. Um, to actually run an assessment of what could affect your business right now. Could it be the weather, things that are happening right now? If for example, there's some vendors and agencies that I've dealt with who are home based, they're headquartered out of LA. To use a current example, LA, their companies there in North Carolina where they got hit by the hurricane, they had to have some transition plan where they can move from one building that was destroyed or there's no access, no roads are blocked, and employees can't come to work. You have to think of all kinds of uh, different scenarios in your mind, trying to figure out what would stop my business today from X event happening across the world or either in another state. How is it affecting me, and how do I take any steps towards resolving that? And the continuity plan for any business should be along with the operating business plan when you first start your LLC, if you have one. First and foremost, who's going to get paid, who's going to do what, and assigning all those roles. That's an operating plan. And then you have a business plan about cash flow and all that, right? So now you know those two things. And you have a third layer. I don't think a lot of people consider it, is what happens in an emergency. Who's in charge of doing what? Do you train your employees how to protect the business, because that's their paycheck too. So they have a vested interest in the business, working from the inside. So training is going to be important. How are you going to implement this? And once you do you practice? These plans have to be put into place right away. There should be a phone tree, any kind of an email that you have like a template on a Word document, and you save it in a draft, and you keep everything organized in your office, and you should, even as a small enterprise. And even at home, like you want to notify family members, someone that your customers that you will be shutting down, or you may be operating for shorter hours today because inclement weather. You see it all the time. Some of your favorite places that you go shop and patronize. So this is what they're doing when they're telling you on social media, we can't reach you on the Facebook, but in Instagram, it's going to be affected. So you should check outages as well. This happened recently. What is it that my app is not working? You should have at least a text, something set up about the text to send to your customers that you may be shutting down, or they have orders you're going to be able to fulfill to a certain extent before shutting down, and just adjust to how many people are working for you that day, depending on the emergency. And your customers are protected because they're not coming out there. If there's dangerous conditions getting to your venue, if you're a brick and mortar business, then you're taking the danger and safety factor that you have to worry about protecting them and protecting yourself. You have to protect against liability. If there's a treacherous trip to come into your store today because of the weather, then you may want to tell them you may be operating for opening late, for example, until the roadways are clear and that sort of thing. So always have something that in mind. And talking about the original slide about the small businesses that are hit by hacking, cybersecurity intrusions, they do not come back into online. They're just businesses that are lost forever. The fees just paying someone to first of all, if it damages your reputation in some way, and you have built equity and your business and your name. This is what you're fighting against. So 90% of businesses being lost following an attack of that nature could be invoicing or whatever, just any kind of an intrusion into your business, customer and service databases, anything, any kind of customer information. And they also, if they get hacked as a consequence of a breach of cybersecurity, it's going to be linked back to you. It happens with big companies. You hear about it all the time in the news. You should not be one of those companies, even smaller. We should be able to operate a little bit more efficiently because we're not going to have as much money to pay the attorneys and pay people to fix our reputation at this point. But we will be able to at least be more conscious about protecting that information at the get-go, because we don't have that kind of money. But insurance does come, and they do have. I may have to talk about the insurance later on. I know about some providers that actually specialize in cybersecurity attack insurance, and I can discuss that. And let's go back to training. Training people is important. Part of this operating agreement that you have with your business, if you don't have it already, you should be thinking like, I need to work on that this weekend. Have something, a template, something, a working document that will give roles and responsibilities to employees, from your manager all the way down to the newest person who joins the team, whatever your business is. And how do they protect information? How do they protect themselves and customers? Like I said, if it's a brick and mortar, if you're online, you definitely have to make sure your transactions are secure, as secure as you can make them. So you're going to have to figure out with a plan and who's going to be running what roles. And early on, people already know. And then practicing is always going to be a big deal about how to get that mindset already ingrained into your employees and even yourselves. The owners also should be teachers, but also should be showing hands-on how to protect the business. And we always look at different things online and educate yourselves. When you do get hit by an attack of some sort, or then your business was threatened in some way by some big event that was completely out of your control, like most things are sometimes, rather than be really upset about the event, it should be taken as a learning point. Always, like, you do have to have best practices, and a post-mortem, of course, after you have a crisis. It's like, let's go back to normal. The new normal is going to happen after something hits your business anyway. Just like the pandemic, people started businesses right at the beginning of the pandemic and the shutdowns. They're still operating now, and I know many clients that they're operating, but they have to work really hard, and then they leverage other factors that they might have seen them as opportunities, versus other people would have seen them as problems, and then decided not to start businesses, or they actually shut down for good. And some, I noticed that they shifted from brick and mortar to online sales and education, and I was really glad for them, and that worked out really well. And now that seems to be a pretty standard procedure, that if I have to shut down physically, I take my business online and still serve the people that I serve. Testing is really important. I cannot stress that enough. I actually interview with companies that have really fancy literature and manuals, and they have the posters on the walls about procedures and in case of. And when you ask them, how often do you test these systems? There's a big sigh, big deep breath of a pause of not enough, and not enough means never. So learn from that. Even big companies can fall to that trap. They're waiting for the big thing to hit. You could get hit by a small thing that's totally detached from you, and it will completely derail everything you're doing. And right now, you can organize yourselves. Some points to take from today's video is that organize everything you have in your business right now Make sure you know where your financial stuff is. Everything's organized, not just in a computer. If you have old paper files, they need to be scanned and digitized. And then the paper files, originals, really need to be safeguarded. Uh, uh, a safeguard, a bank vault, anywhere where you can access them at some point in emergency. I know I'm throwing that out there. It's kind of old school, but you need to have it because your building burns down, and it happens. The last thing you have is maybe some identification with you. You have no other paperwork that's loaded to a cloud storage solution. You should definitely do that. These are free. Norton, and you have the software. These are pretty basic. This is not a comprehensive lesson or anything today, on account that this is for a general audience, and this is you, just to give you ideas and get you enthusiastic about what I think is sexy is just protecting against the very worst things that could happen. They always happen. It's just a matter of time. But it's not about living in fear, but it's always about living with the certainty deep down that we can handle ourselves when things turn out terribly wrong, and we take that deep breath, and then we have a plan, and we start putting into action. And most of these examples are just being able to shift gears. If you're I already mentioned and early on in the video, if you can think of a better way to operate, if you get hit in your normal way of operating, that should be in writing. You should already know that this is how you're going to proceed, and it's going to be scary implementing it, but scary is good, because scary means what? It means growth. That means you're learning something new, and that new skill is going to get you through those hard times, and as hopefully it will assure the survival of your business. You can also assure the survival of your own family and yourselves. Some of these topics can be implemented into home, but I'm not addressing home security and safety for today. I might address that later. I'm still free for a free consultation. We can talk about your needs. Not a hard sell, but this is what I'm here for. If you want to continue watching these videos, I would really appreciate it to bring you more of these topics. If you click yes, say yes to liking, click like and subscribe. That way you'll be the first one to know when I drop a new content on this channel, and that would really help me out get the word out about some of these topics, and hopefully people would continue to learn and benefit from these videos. I want to thank you for joining me today. Don't be scared of 2025. Some really crazy stuff may be happening right now, and some will happen again soon. But will you stand firm on both feet and have a clear mind that you know how you will be able to proceed when things get rough? And I hope to see you again soon. Thanks for watching.